Hello. In this lesson, we will talk about provisioning organizations and environments in the Apigee platform. In the previous lessons, we bootstrapped the hosts in our Apigee planet, then ran the setup program to configure components on each host according to the roles they were assigned. At this point, all of our Apigee Edge services are installed, but we still need to create an organization and environment in order to use the platform. For this demo, we are going to create an organization named Apigee with an environment named prod. As with the profile setup process, we will use a response file to describe our settings. That file will be fed to a utility that will do the work of provisioning the organization and environment for us. This is the response file we will be using. Org name and env name define the names of the organization and environment we are creating. They should be lowercase and contain only letters and dashes. vhost port is the TCP port on which the router will listen for incoming connections. The convention is to start at 9001 and count up, but you can select any unused port above 1023. vhost name is simply a label for the virtual host. The convention is to use default for the plaintext virtual host and secure for the TLS encrypted virtual host, but you can use a different name if necessary. vhost alias defines the space-separated list of host names that the router will accept for incoming HTTP requests. If the router receives an HTTP request with a host header that it does not recognize, the request will be dropped. Orgadmin is the email of the user that should be assigned to the organization administrator role in this new organization. The user must already exist. There are additional variables you can add to this response file if you wish to create a new user at the time you provision the organization. See our documentation for full details. Apigee admin PW is the password of the sysadmin user that will be used to create this organization. The default sysadmin email is the initial sysadmin user you created at installation time, but you can define the admin email variable to choose a different sysadmin user. We have our provisioning response file. The next step is to install the provisioning utility. All commands described here should be run one time on a single management server. Since actions taken on any management server affect the planet globally, you do not need to run them on all management servers or any other component. As with the Apigee setup utility, we will use the Apigee service command to install the Apigee provision utility from the Apigee software repository. The command is apigee service, apigee provision, install. After the provisioning utility is installed, the full command to set up the organization will be apigee service, apigee provision, setup org, -f, and the path to our response file, which is /temp/apigee/response-org.txt. Let's put all of this together to provision our organization. As before, files necessary for the installation are stored in /temp/apigee. Here, you can see the provisioning response file we will use. Installing the Apigee provision utility is straightforward and requires only a download and installation from our Apigee software repository. Finally, let's run the Apigee provision utility. The setup org action will take a moment to run, and you will see a lot of output. Setting up an organization does more than just create the organization, environment, and virtual host. It also sets up default organizational roles for users, assigns an organization administrator, connects message processors to the environment to provide API request processing capacity, and much more. Now that the provisioning process is complete, we can log in to the Apigee Enterprise UI by accessing host 1 in a web browser on port 9000. Log in with the sysadmin credentials you provided in the profile setup response file, and you will end up at the Apigee UI dashboard page. For more information on this topic, refer to our documentation. If you have any questions, please post them to our community. Thanks for watching.